Hi, it's about 3 o'clock on Monday afternoon and I'm standing on Banbury Road between Kidlington and Oxford. Kidlington is there and the park and ride is between it and me, and Oxford is behind me. I'm actually out of the city boundaries. I didn't check to see whether Perm had been deleted from the list of cities on the boundary sign, but I bet it has. And I'm going to walk to and around Water Eaton and end up in South Kidlington. And this is a public footpath which continues from another public footpath through the golf course, though as there's another road pretty close to the other end, I don't think many people bother with it. But this stretch is fun. And it's definitely worth knowing. I've been meaning to do it for some time. It was just a matter of finding a day that was nice and warm and bright at the right time. I do have another reason for videoing it now, and that's that there is an awful lot of development already on the Banbury Road to the south of me. They've built a new road called Frideswide Road, named after St Frideswide, probably because this is called St Frideswide's Farm. And I think more development is planned for somewhere over there, probably just past the park and ride, and I'm not sure how far it's going to extend round. They're talking about building 800 houses and a primary school and probably other things, so it's going to be a massive change in view. I think this is stimulated by Cherwell District Council, who again I think manage Kidlington amongst other places. So I want to record this and show it to you while it is still relatively unspoilt. I say relatively because we can probably see the development to the south of us when we turn a corner or two. Now this is also the, well for me, given that I live near the centre of Oxford, this is also the starting point for a longer walk that will take me to Islip, I-S-L-I-P, which is a village about 4 miles from here, not that far from Kidlington. And I have to get to Islip, I have to go part of this route. And then I go straight on rather than turning left, which I'm going to do today. And then I go over the Sparsey Bridge, that's S-P-A-R-S-E-Y. And then I do a few other things, and eventually I end up in a rather lovely village called Islip. And I haven't been there for some time. I hope it still has at least one pub left. I've actually been there when I ordered duck and I think it was duck, rabbit and walnut pie, and I asked the bar lady how long it would take, and she said, oh well, he's just out catching the rabbits now. Islip's nice. Again, it was last time I was there because it has a village shop which is stocked with interesting things, and it was community managed, run by volunteers to keep a convenience store open for the locals. And there's a nice sort of orchard at the I think it's the south end of the village too, which I have sometimes walked to just to go there and read. But it was a bit annoying because one time I went there, it's not all that far from a group of houses, a crescent, and some guy started doing woodwork within earshot, sawing stuff. Well, this is Friedeswide's farm, or St Friedeswide's farm, and it looks very much like a working farm. One landmark that has gone, there used to be a big grain silo that stuck up into the sky somewhere over there, and that could easily be seen from Banbury Road. This is also great for run, and as you can see, cyclists use it too. It's a good surface. There are other paths that go off in that sort of direction. Well, thankfully I can't see much of the new development from here. It's called Priory Grove, and I videoed its first stages in a video that I did last November, round about the 3rd, called What's Eating the Fields. And it's very visible from Banbury Road, further south. It's just to the end of a row of 1920s or 30s houses that are much more spaced apart on Banbury Road than it is. Not very far from the Turnpike Gatehouse. But luckily I can't see it from here. And I say that I think there's further development planned for north of here, perhaps beyond the park and ride, maybe about 800 homes, organised by Cherwell District Council. I'm a little bit concerned about that because one of the websites that talks about it is called www.watereaton.co.uk, which sounds as though the development company has been set up under the name Water Eaton, and which therefore suggests that it's going to absorb quite a lot of Water Eaton, including maybe what I'm walking over. Water Eaton at the moment is really, it's sort of round there, it's a little hamlet. That's Water Eaton Manor House. And I do wonder why those 800 homes can't be built in Kidlington, which already has a good infrastructure of roads, and which, although it's got some beautiful old parts and some reasonable 1930s parts, also has some parts where I don't think a block of flats or two would do much harm to the view. So why not put the new homes there rather than around here? On another subject, you may argue that why am I doing this walk? Because there's not actually very much to see. Seeing stuff isn't the only benefit. The exercise and just the stimulation you get from increased blood circulation and such like is too. So possibly to get the best benefit from this video, you should watch it while on a treadmill. So those are some of the footpaths, but I think there are also others, well, there are others further on that are not indicated on that. It's nice to try the footpath from here to Cutterslow Park. That's a sort of basic introduction to the area and the style of ground. Well, as I say, St Friedwide's farm is that land. And what I haven't said is that there's a St Friedwide farmhouse, which is stone, Tudor and 16th century, and that's grade 2 listed. And this is also grade 2 listed. It's Water Eaton Manor. I think it's sometimes called Water Eaton Hall. And that was built in 1586, though I've read that it's been changed around since. And east of it, I mention this for anybody that wants to come here and have a look at the building in more detail. East of it, there are 2 so-called pavilions and dovecote. And northeast of it is a chapel which was built in 1610 and which is grade 1 listed. And the importance of dovecotes is partly for the dung and partly for the meat. And I looked up dovecotes, and they seem to have been used all over Europe and the Middle East as a convenient source of these 2 materials. And quite often you seem to have needed privileges, being a certain kind of lord or something, to build them. Now, I've actually misled you slightly because if you think of the manor as the whole lot, including that building, most of it is down at the end of this driveway, which is clearly marked on a map, but it is private, so it would be at your own risk that you go and look at it. It is possible to walk round the perimeter, or at least it was last time that I tried, and get some views, but I'm not going to try that now because I don't think I have enough battery. I'm going to go straight on. And there are 1 or 2 other buildings in the area too. Incidentally, I once knew somebody who lived in Water Eaton Manor, and he wasn't a lord of the manor. He was what they nowadays call a tech bro from New York, and he was running some sort of software company. and he had enough money not only to rent the manor, which I read somewhere costs about £5,000 a month, but also to throw a party for anyone who wanted to come from the, I think it was the college graduate common room. And I went, and it was pretty good. I can't remember how I got back, but given the amount of alcohol that was on offer, it's possible that I just walked and don't remember it. That's the driveway from the side. Actually, I think he probably organised coaches or minivans. It was a nighttime party, so we started round about 7 and finished sort of 12ish, I think. And hungry graduate common room students who are used to subsisting on laboratory vending machine produce can make an awfully large dent in a food supply between the hours of 7 and 12, which shows how much money he had. And he just treated it as if it was nothing to him. Banbury Road over there again, you can hear it. Part of the manor house now visible. It's odd, but for all the countryside walks that I've done over the past year, I think this may be the first in which I've actually been through a farm that is actively growing something where I was. Okay, and Sparsey Bridge then accessible by that footpath. That's the footpath marker. And that will take you to a village called Eaton, which is bigger than this, which is Water Eaton, and it will also take you to Islip. And there are some nice walks through fields around Islip. fairly sure that the glimmer in the distance there is the roofs of Priory Grove, that new Banbury roadside development. That middle farm, nice house. And there is a train. (2015) Chiltern Railways, who operate services from Aylesbury to London, opened a new line here. First railway line built around Oxford for 100 years, I think. I've used it, and although it takes about 15 minutes longer than the Oxford city centre station to Paddington, it's a nicer ride. It's quieter and seems to be generally more efficiently run. I think, amongst other things, they farm deer there, and they've always been strict about privacy. And that is the railway. I think that may be existing track to Islip. There's always been a railway line between Oxford and Islip. It's rather odd these days to have such a little village that's equipped with one, but it was. And so they may not even have needed to upgrade. Depends where it came off from Oxford Central Station. I have actually climbed one of the railway bridges once. I actually got stuck somewhere on the south end of Islip, and the only way I could get out was by climbing a railway bridge very, very carefully to make sure there were no trains, and then coming down on the other side. And somehow that landed me in a private bit of Northfield Farm, surrounded by deer cutters' cottages or whatever deer farms have. And I got out as quickly as I could. Ooh, look. I think that's a message from an alien civilization. It's certainly no letter or Chinese character that I've ever seen on Earth. I wonder what they're telling us. Obviously they believe that right angles are important, but we know that. That's an older track to Northfield Farm. And this is an older bridge. And this is the bit of infrastructure that has done most damage to the peace of the green space. It's much noisier than the railway. Now, I need to explain what's happening at both ends of this route because neither will be familiar to a lot of people. I started from Banbury Road between Oxford and Kidlington and not far south of the Park and Ride and the station. And how to get there. If you're on a bike, then it's easy just to cycle up the Banbury Road through Summertown and then around the roundabout and past 5 Mile Drive, which I've videoed in at least one other video too, I think. Past the new development Priory Grove on the right, and then just watch for the first and, as far as I know, the only public footpath sign before the station. I think there's another public footpath sign just after the south end of Kidlington near the roundabout, but you won't be going that far. If you're walking, you might find that too long depending on where you're starting from. Follow the bike instructions, but maybe take a bus part of the way. There's a bus stop around where the Priory Grove development starts, and there are 1 or 2 others to the south of that. I think there are either 2 or 3 after the roundabout. But beware that there are no bus stops on the stretch of road that doesn't have houses. So it's a bit of a longer walk than normal from the northernmost bus stop to the footpath. Okay, so at this end there's a footpath over the fields there, and I'll do that sometime because that's a very nice walk. It goes through some back ways to St Mary's Church, but for today I'm going to take somewhere more obvious, and this will come out in the south end of Kidlington, not all that far from the big Sainsbury's near the roundabout. And if you keep in mind that Banbury Road is still basically on that side of me, you can't go too far wrong. So that's where I've come out. That must be a very old footpath marker. Kidlington has these nice stone cottages.